Superman had a sidekick named Boy Thunder, and their origin stories are almost exactly the same. But Boy Thunder, also known as David, was from an entirely different multiverse, and his hometown was actually Gotham City, but pretty much everything else besides that was the same. Just like Superman, David's homeworld was doomed. So his parents sent him off in an escape pod hoping that he'd survive. But it wasn't just any escape pod, it was an escape pod capable of traveling through the multiverse that eventually landed on Earth Zero, DC's main Earth. And upon its arrival, the United States was freaking out because it caused a massive rift to open up in the sky. So big that it covered half of the entire country, and nobody knew what it was, so Batman decided to investigate it with the help of Robin. But on their way there, David's space pod phased right through their jet somehow. Luckily, Superman was able to catch it though, but they were shocked upon setting it down because they weren't expecting a young boy to be inside. David immediately informed them of who he was and how he got there, but at the same time he was extremely panicked, emotional, and disoriented because he literally just saw his entire planet explode with his parents on it. And upon finding this out, Superman, Batman, and Robin felt so bad for him. But moments later, their concerns were shifted into a completely new direction because David's body started glowing. His body got so hot that everything around him started to catch fire, and Superman had to escort Batman and Robin out of the vicinity so they wouldn't burn to death. Thankfully, Clark's ice breath was enough to put out the fire, and enough so that he could calm David down and take him to the Fortress of Solitude so they could figure out what was going on with him. After running some tests on him, Kim Daw, a Kryptonian scientist, expressed that the sun on David's planet was a lot cooler than the sun on this Earth, so just like Clark, his body processed solar energy differently here, granting him a broad spectrum of powers like flight, superhuman strength, invulnerability, solar energy absorption, and more. And to help him adjust to all of these newly acquired powers, they crafted him a suit made of Kandorian fabrics that would help contain them. But David didn't really care about having powers. His mind was still on his parents, so he asked Superman if they had a Gotham, and when Superman said yes, he begged to be taken there so he could see this Earth's version of his parents. And upon doing so, he was so happy to see them, but quickly burdened with sadness upon realizing that the feelings weren't mutual because they had no idea who he was. And as mentioned by Batman, they did have their own version of David, but he died when he was only 3 years old, so it was best to stay out of their lives to avoid reopening their past wounds. David's heart, along with his world, had completely shattered. Robin tried comforting him as much as possible, but no amount of comfort in the world could mend wounds like his in such a short time. But one thing that was for certain was that he wasn't alone, because after considering the circumstances, Clark soon realized that he was pretty much this boy's father now. And even though Robin knew he couldn't replace his real family, he was still gonna try and be there for him. So after a short helicopter ride, he introduced him to the Teen Titans, a group of colorful superpowered teens just like him. But of course, like most stories, there is always evil lurking behind the scenes, and this story was no different because Key, a villain specializing in the use of weaponized chemicals, was planning on a truly horrible fate for the city of Gotham. But sadly, that's when this issue comes to an end, but if you want to see what happens next, let me know in the comments down below.